and streaming live on your favorite device. This is KATC TV3, Acadiana's news channel at 10.
Parts of Louisiana remain in the cone, and we need to be very careful about that, and they include much of the New Orleans metro area.
Well, tonight, Hurricane Sally continues to churn in the Gulf of Mexico, and while the storm is targeting Mississippi, Louisiana officials are urging residents in the southeastern part of the state to remain on alert. Right now, Sally is a strong Category 2 storm, about 130 miles an hour southeast of Biloxi, and while the storm's track has pulled it away from most of Louisiana, the New Orleans area is keeping a close eye on the storm. Tonight, we have team coverage of Sally's track. Rob standing by with the latest coordinates and wind speeds. But first, we'll go live to New Orleans. Our Jim Hummel is there with a look at preps happening in the city. Jim.
Marcel, good evening. Luckily, just a breezy night here in New Orleans. In the city today, you could really sense the relief from people as Sally developed from a tropical storm this morning into a hurricane, then into a stronger hurricane that has been tracking farther east throughout the day. You could really sense the relief here in New Orleans, but officials caution that there are still some potential issues from the storm that could still impact New Orleans. They say now is not the time to let down your guard.
Here on Magazine Street, you'll still find Mardi Gras beads hanging from the fences, but the ferns have been taken down from the porches for now, thanks to Hurricane Sally.
Well, basically just secured everything in the backyard, make sure there's nothing, no debris flying around. You know, just cleared out some plants that were in pots and put them close up to the house. You know, just trying to keep things clear.
Toire Williams and Wendy Porche, like many in this city, are watching the forecast but aren't overly concerned.
We're always prepared for the electricity to go out or flooding, but overall it's a small storm.
But for a city surrounded by water, with any storm, it has to be taken seriously. The French Quarter, noticeably quiet, some shops boarded up. In Bayou St. John, cars parked on higher ground.
Sally is a test. Everyone is a test.
Heath Jones is the emergency manager for the Army Corps of Engineers New Orleans district. He says Sally is the latest test of the city's levee system, which saw $14.5 billion in improvements since Hurricane Katrina.
We have it up to 100-year level protection. We're still doing some things like armoring. That's building in resiliency into the levees. So if they are overtopped by a hurricane someday, they won't have a failure.
And no matter the test, no matter the storm, here in New Orleans, there's a common approach.
The Gulf South takes a beating almost every hurricane season, and if you can't look out for your neighbor, that's just, that would be just horrible. I mean, because we're all in the same boat.
Now, as for those flood control measures indicated by the Army Corps of Engineers, they include 495 hurricane gates that are scattered throughout the city. They range from major structures, some of which are visible from space, to street-level flood control measures that are scattered throughout the French Quarter here. At last check, about half of those 495 gates have been activated. Today, we also heard from Governor Edwards, who stressed the big concern for the New Orleans metro area is just how fast Hurricane Sally is moving, very slowly. And even though Sally's eye is expected to make landfall far east from New Orleans, the governor stressing that the city could still face some issues from the storm.
But what we know with a slow-moving storm, if one of those bands of rain settle over part of Louisiana, we know that flooding is going to be a big concern.
About 65 miles away from New Orleans, Gulfport residents are enjoying the calm before the storm. They were doing that today. We saw some people out there running along the beach while others went about their daily routines. Although the storm is more than 100 miles offshore, it's already creating heavier than usual waves on the city's beach, the first sign of what's brewing offshore. And just a few miles up the road in Bay St. Louis, residents aren't wasting any time in protecting their property. Residents parking their cars in the medians along the city these streets to protect them from being flooded by Sally's rain and surge. And here's a look at why those residents aren't taking any chances with Sally. Already parts of Bay St. Louis and nearby Waveland are seeing backwater flooding caused by the storm that's overflowing streams, covering roads and yards some 36 hours before Sally's landfall. State leaders are sounding the alarm, saying the flooding there will only get worse.
So the high risk of flash flooding, particularly in Hancock and Pearl River County that are projected to get 15+ inches of rain, that's a lot of rain. It's a lot of rain working against a storm surge.
Alabama and parts of the Florida Panhandle are also bracing for the storm. Residents in the Mobile and Pensacola areas are filling up sandbags to protect their homes from possible flooding. Meanwhile, the mayor of Dauphin Island is urging residents and tourists alike to evacuate ahead of Hurricane Sally. And Hurricane Sally is complicating an issue that the state has faced already in the aftermath of Hurricane Laura: where to house evacuees. People who fled to New Orleans, for instance, after Laura devastated southwest Louisiana are now looking for another place to stay in some cases. Many Acadiana hotels are already full, but some are still taking in evacuees. A woman who lost everything in Laura says any help she can get right now, even a hotel room, is just a necessity right now.
Anything that y'all like to donate, please, we feel free. We can take. We have lost everything, and we need everything we can get to get back to where we were.
And we will have team coverage of Hurricane Sally over the next few days. Go to KATC.com or your favorite streaming device for more of our coverage.